Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles, minister and hypnotist, and welcome to Power Talk, my video blog where I cover topics that interest me, focusing on how you can use the power of your mind to take control of your life. If you want to know more about my professional work, and I hope you do, or sign up for my free e-newsletter, Power Lines, check out my website, which I'll tag in the description. Well, today I want to talk about something that most of us know about, our inner critic. We all have one. We're all born without a clue regarding how we should behave. We just do what comes naturally as babies. But as an example, one of the things that we do naturally as babies is to defecate in our pants. We quickly learn that is not acceptable to our caretakers, and gradually we realize we have to control our behavior. In fact, we discover that a lot of what we want to do isn't acceptable to our caretakers. And so we keep modifying our behavior. We learn table manners, how to dress. We learn how to communicate effectively, and so on. And all of this is absolutely necessary for our socialization. But as this socialization is happening, the unconscious mind formulates the idea that, well, I'm not okay just as I am. Other people have expectations on my behavior, and to keep myself safe and nurtured, I have to conform. This part of the unconscious mind is called the not okay adapted child in some systems of psychology, such as transactional analysis. But the net result is that we all have part of ourselves that feels like we're not really okay. And that part doesn't go away. And it is the origin of all self-doubt and self-criticism. So we go through life with a very powerful little voice in our mind that keeps telling us that we need to avoid disappointing others. And so we begin to proactively criticize ourselves in an effort to be successful and to avoid discipline and disapproval from others. The result is that most of us go around conducting an inner dialogue with ourselves, and that dialogue is really messed up. In fact, if we ever talk to anyone the way we talk to ourselves, they wouldn't have anything to do with us. We talk to ourselves with zero empathy, zero forgiveness, never giving ourselves the benefit of any doubt. Well, one response to this, and I see it a lot, is that people will become perfectionistic. We try to be perfect because then we make no mistakes and can't be criticized. However, that doesn't work. There is usually a range of opinion about what someone should do or not do in a situation. And so we discover that it's impossible to be perfect because no matter how hard we try, there will always be someone who believes that we should have done something different. In fact, one of my personal jokes is to say, well, yes, I used to try to be perfect and I failed completely, so I adjusted the goal. I now try to be imperfect, and I'm much more successful at that. Well, more seriously, I've long been interested in what's called positive psychology. That is, how can a person keep a healthy-minded consciousness as they go through life? Well, recently, I've been reading about the work of the Psychology and Good Life Project at Yale University. The lead researcher, Professor Laurie Santos, has a podcast called The Happiness Podcast, and I do recommend it. What she recommends that we do to kind of silence that inner critical voice is to cultivate the habit of positive self-talk. That is, make it a point to kind of be your own cheerleader. But there's a danger here. If you're going to do that, you need to also develop the capacity to be reasonably honest with yourself and not engage in self-deception. That is, it's just not a great idea to say positive things to yourself that aren't true or reasonable. That would just reinforce bad habits or your character flaws. This is why one of the reasons that most practitioners who encourage people to adopt the ideas of positive psychology recommend that you have a therapist, a coach, a spiritual director who can give you grounded feedback. Short of that, there are a couple of rules to keep in mind. First, realize that self-deception is always a problem, and so check out what you think about yourself with someone else, if possible. Obviously, be selective in who you confide in, because other people have their own agenda and may be less than honest with you. But if we try, we can usually find a confidant. Always remember, self-compassion is not self-indulgence, and a certain degree of self-regulation is expected. That said, also realize most of us go overboard, and that's why we need to do a positive self-talk project. Second, while you may be really good at beating yourself up in your own mind about mistakes you think you've made, the actual reality is that your mistakes typically don't matter to other people in many, probably most cases. I mean, sure, if you've been dishonest or hurt someone, people will care about that because it affects them. But most people are so involved with their own stuff, they really aren't paying a lot of attention to you and any small mistakes you might have made. So don't exaggerate the impact of small goof-ups. In my hypnotism practice, there's a regular induction I use called the compassion soak. While I use it with clients to induce a positive state of hypnotism, you can do it on your own as well without even doing hypnotic practices. The idea is to just set aside some time during which you will put all self-critique away. Just spend the next 15 minutes or so talking to yourself positively. You can get back to the self-criticism later if you want, but for a limited time, just talk to yourself with understanding and empathy. And trust me, it will feel so good that you'll soon make it a habit. When I was learning this, I would go for a half-hour walk. On that walk, I would do the compassion soak. At the end of the half hour, I'd go right back to letting my inner critic beat me up, but for that half hour, I would police my thoughts so that I only said positive things to myself. And I found that half hour to be so pleasant that I would do it more and more, and that critical voice in my head got less and less. Just give it a try. Take 5-10 minutes as a start, a very limited time. But for that time, only speak to yourself in your mind positively. You'll be amazed at how transformative that can be. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject. I'd like to invite you to join me. It helps me a lot if you tell others about my videos, so please like, share, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell. If you're wondering if I can be of help to you, feel free to reach out through my website for a free no obligation screening call and we'll talk about it. Have a great week.